This is not a woke podcast.
Sorry,
Hey,
what's that?
this is just for the record. This isn't a woke podcast.
I
I,
didn't think so.
I'm a free thinking motherfucker.
Me too. Me too, brother.
All right. So, hey, every now and then you get a chance to chop it up with a guy named Brent. What's up, dog?
Nothing much, man. How's it going?
Going good, man. It's going good. So, what do you think about Trump being his tariffs this week? Everyone's all, oh my God, they're the worst. And then all of a sudden, he says, buy some stock tomorrow. I got a good idea about this.
Man, I hate it. I'm against all of it.
You're against all the tariffs?
Yeah. I'm a free market guy, man. Like I don't do central planning. I don't do communism. I don't do socialism.
Well, let's just
Uh,
let's just take all the tariffs on both sides now. See how that plays out.
no, I wish. Yeah, that's the place I'd like to go. But ultimately, we only have control over the United States. Like if you're president, and taxing American citizens and making things more expensive, it doesn't do what you think it's going to do.
Well, here's the thing.
Partic-
Everyone thinks that tariffs are a tax on America. I actually think it's not.
They literally are by definition, though.
I don't think so.
Well, hold on a second. Let's walk through this. So, tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do global trade and compliance, import export a lot for a living. When you import something, there's tariffs that are applied to those duties and tariffs and fees, right? So that's paid by the person importing the goods, right? And so United States, I think we know we don't make anything, and the things that
I
we
know where
do
you're going.
make.
I know where you're going with this, by the way.
Yeah. So we don't make anything, and the stuff that we actually do make is mainly assembly, right? So the raw materials are typically imported from China and other places, and we assemble it, and then we consume it, or we sell it abroad, right? When you import something, the government puts a tariff on it, and that means that the importer, right, the importer of
Well,
record.
wait a second. America's tariffs are significantly lower than everyone else's.
Well, it doesn't matter because we don't charge tariffs against another country. This is one of the things I hate about the whole discussion is that people say, well, Trump is putting tariffs on China, right? Like, well, no, the China doesn't pay for tariffs, right? So all you're doing, what this is, and conservatives can conceptualize it this way: tariffs are like the minimum wage argument. Right, that's a price control. It's a wage control. It's the exact same thing. It's trying to control market prices because America is essentially saying through tariffs, we have put ourselves into such a hyper regulated, business unfriendly climate that we can't compete with other places in the world. And so in order to account for that, and that's what trade imbalance means essentially, is that we're importing more goods than we are exporting. That's what it means on net. What's happening is like we're saying, okay, we're going to artificially raise the prices because we can't compete to try to force production to be done in the United States, right? This is minimum wage type of stuff. This is wage control, price control. It's a distortion of the free markets, and the American taxpayers pay for it by virtue of more expensive goods, right? If you put a tariff on iPhones, right? All of a sudden they're going to be, whatever percentage the tariff fee is, it's going to be passed on to the consumer in the form of higher prices. And so it is inflationary. It's a tax on Americans. This is the single largest tax in human history. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't like taxation generally. It's theft. It's extortion. And I certainly don't like the second order effects that happen when you meddle with markets.
Okay, so now that you got that off your chest, answer me this.
Hmm?
If we're the big importer, 80% import, 20% export, we should actually be getting a discount when we ship our stuff abroad. Because in order for us to be competitive, give me an example. Ford F-150. You can't buy that car in Germany,
Sure.
but you can buy a Toyota Tundra all day long. Why?
Okay, well, that's not necessarily true. You can buy it, but I get your point. Like, for example, the EU, they tax engines based on displacement, right? That's why you see these tiny ass little cars in Europe. Like, you can. There's wealthy people that can afford to import an F-150, and you see them every once in a while if you've ever driven around Europe. They exist. It's rare though. It's like seeing
Well,
a Lamborghini in the U.S.
FYI,
It's rare.
Ford F-150 and a Toyota Tundra are pretty much the same car.
Yeah, same class of car. Yeah.
So, but what I was going to say is the tariffs on the American Ford F-150 are here, and the tariffs on the Japanese Toyota Tundra by Germany standards is here.
Sure.
America is getting ripped off by these countries. If all I want to see is, hey, if you're going to let the Toyota Tundra come into your country here, let the F-150 come in there also.
You're not getting ripped off though, right? So I hate that term. People say that we're getting ripped off. It's like we're not really getting ripped off. What's happening
We're totally
is
different.
that the countries that are instituting these tariffs are taxing their own citizens to receive these goods. So you're erecting, you're
But you're
making it
creating a
more.
barrier.
Yeah, you're creating a trade barrier, which I said I'm not in favor of, right? Like I think that all the tariff rate should be zero. We should have a free trade situation, and trade deficits don't matter, right?
I agree with that too. But in the meantime, since they're not at zero, we got to kind of like incentivize them to bring the tariffs down against U.S. products.
And I have said, right, like if you're going to do tariffs, I'm against tariffs. They've never worked. They've always resulted in disaster. It's not a good idea. But if you're going to do them as a means to a free trade environment, I would be more open to them. If Trump said reciprocal tariffs, meaning legitimate reciprocal tariffs, meaning so like if Germany has a 15% tariff on our products and we put a 15% tariff on theirs and we say, if you don't like that, let's take ours all to zero together, right? Like that's a better situation if it's a leverage tool meant to get to 0% tariffs. But Trump doesn't want that. He's got this calculation, which is
Pump,
it's not
pump the
good.
brakes. Pump the brakes. How long did Trump enforce these tariffs?
Well, I mean, he didn't have a choice, right? The
No, no,
market's
no, no.
completely
How
melted.
long? How long?
Well, so first of all, they're still in effect, right? So he is,
No,
by the
no,
way,
no, no. Literally,
he has
no,
not rolled back the
no,
tariffs.
no, actually, not true. He rolled them back for every country except China.
No, he put them all at the same level. He didn't roll them back. So what Trump did, pay attention to this, he tariffed everybody at 10%. So everyone's at 10% now for 90
No,
days.
look at the announcement from 2 days ago. He paused all tariff adjustments, period.
He no no no. Read the announcement.
I literally did.
He put everybody at 10% except for China. China said, because he said, "Oh, you were retaliating against us. You didn't take my warning, so now I'm jacking up the tariffs on you." Everyone
You know what he really did is he wanted to isolate China. He said, "All right, everyone else, you came and negotiated. India did a deal. By the way, he got a lot of concessions real quick from some people.
for
Canada,
sure,
they conceded. They conceded in less than 48 hours.
for sure, and
And
I'm
by the
not
way,
debating
it's
that fact.
because they're literally importing 97, exporting 97% of their goods, and they're only bringing in 3% of our goods. So they absolutely had to pay attention and say, "Hey, listen, let's come to the table. We'll negotiate."
Sure, sure. And like I said, if the intention was we're going to wield tariffs as a tool and we're going to do
He did. He did.
true reciprocal tariffs, meaning the same rate as somebody else charges you with the goal of getting to zero, like I could have swallowed that a little easier than this. But that's not what this is. This is important to
Exactly.
note is that
Listen,
his
you can't go to a poker table and say, "I'm going to bluff everyone tonight." You got to go to the poker table and say, "I'm holding four aces. You do whatever you want, but I'm all in."
yeah, but the problem is that everyone else who actually manufactures things and is a net exporter understands the situation America is in. Like we don't hold all the cards that people think that we do, right? Because we don't manufacture anything here. We don't people don't necessarily want to
Say
buy
we don't
American goods.
manufacture it. No, we could manufacture things. It's just we've
But
lost a lot of that
no,
overseas.
no, we could, but everyone in the whole world knows that it would take a very long time to completely restructure America's industrial system. Like we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it for anywhere near what these other countries are
Well, we can do it
manufacturing
for
things at.
steel and aluminum. For sure we can do
Yeah,
it
so,
there.
some things for sure. In certain industries, you could potentially rather quickly turn it around, but on par, right? If you're looking at the global holistic consumption and importation of goods, America, you know what we do? We have this is our trade deficit, is we export fiat paper. We export United States dollars that are worth jack shit, and we get actual goods in return. We're not being ripped off by other countries. If anything, we are ripping off the rest of the world. We're trading worthless fiat paper for actual consumer goods, and that we are making out better on that deal than the rest of the world is. And this is what I'm concerned with: is be
Well, I'll
paid
be honest
attention
with you.
to.
Talk to Greece. Our fiat paper is pretty powerful in Greece.
It's all relative, but you get my point. I think everybody knows the trajectory the United States is on, and that's bankruptcy. Like we are completely insolvent as a nation, and everyone is losing faith in our bonds. If you paid attention, one of the things that Trump did do, everyone thinks like, oh, well, did the tariff bluff and backed off. Well, guess what? He rocked the global financial markets. Look what happened to gold. Look what happened to the strength of the U.S. dollar. Everybody knows what's happening. Everyone's bailing out of treasuries. Yields are going through the roof, right? And the Fed is going to have to start monetizing the debt and turning up the money printer again. This is very, very bad. And these consequences for Trump fucking around with the global economy are coming home to roost.
They're not going to turn out the money printer. They're going to have to lower rates here pretty soon
They,
to get people incentivized.
that's what turning on the money printer is. How do you think the Fed lowers rates?
Well, they set the rates by the prime.
No, 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 no. They set the discount window. So the discount window is the rate at which the Fed charges other member
Well, I call it
banks to.
prime, but it's the discount rate. Yeah, but as
Yeah,
that
that
rate comes down,
but hold on, hold on, hold on. That's not how they traditionally set the interest rate. So that is the lending the discount window they lend to other banks with, correct. But the interest rate of the 10-year treasury, the 5-year treasury, the bond market is what we're talking about here. That really drives interest rates. And the way the Federal Reserve sets interest rates is by purchasing debt. The Treasury issues bonds, and then the Fed, that's what quantitative easing is. The Fed actually puts these bonds on their balance sheet with money they print out of thin air, right? That's how they set the market. So what they do is the Treasury will issue an auction for bonds, whether it's a 1 year, a 3 year, 5 year, 10-year Treasury, doesn't matter. These bonds get issued to the market, and whatever the market doesn't absorb, the Fed will step in and purchase those bonds with newly created money. That's inflationary. That causes inflation, right?
well,
And
yeah, don't take this wrong. The Fed doesn't have to always print money to buy those bonds. They have money coming in just from the Fed rate. The Fed makes money like without printing more money. They make money every day.
they do. They make money off of the money that they previously printed, right? Like this
Yeah.
is, it's a fucking scam. It's monopoly money.
Well,
Um,
while we're at it, why don't we just shut down the Fed? What do we need the Fed?
amen. Amen.
I mean,
Like
it's an
I'm a hard
independent
money guy.
corporation. It's owned by 13 families that are just basically stealing our money.
It's a private bank that somehow got entrusted to, print fiat currency. It's an
So,
abomination. It's
bingo.
completely antithetical to the
Shut
Constitution.
down the Fed. Bingo. We control our own money supply.
But no one's going to shut down the Fed, and Trump doesn't want to shut down the Fed. Let's be honest, right? Like he's a fiat money, big debt, big government guy. Like he's a communist at heart. He's a huge government authoritarian leftist, and I'm tired of people, pretending that he's some sort of fiscal conservative because he's just not.
This guy. This guy's like, hey, is that guy talking about my guy Trumpy?
He has similar color hair.
Is this true? You hear that? You look like fucking Trumpy. You said you're Trumpy fucking Junior. Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
would
I give you
I would trust him in charge of the economy over Trump. Let's put it that way. I'll vote for the dog.
Gracie's like, listen, don't put my brother in charge of the economy. All he'll do is buy phones. We'll be buried in phones. There'll be a huge bone supply.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. Be long on bones.
Exactly. I literally got them these fuckers like 10 minutes ago. I don't even know what a beef gilly is, but as soon as I opened up that bag, they were like, fuck yeah, let's do this shit. So I think you make a lot of good points, but I think people lost sight of the fact that Trump inherently is a negotiator. He loves negotiating. He loves when people come to Mar-a-Lago and negotiate. And what he really did with these tariffs is sound a big bell and say, hey, we're open for business. Feel free to call me. Feel free to fly in and see me. And the ones that came and flew in negotiated and said, hey, we know it's a little out of whack. We'll work things out with you. The ones that said, fuck you, Xi Jinping, Xi, what's up, Xi? Until Xi gets on a plane, Trump's going to like put his feet to the fire. Now, by the way, let's be honest. China's fucked. If these tariffs don't change, I give China another 2 weeks before they start burning to the ground.
They won't though. China is way better positioned than the United States is for a trade war. Way better.
Sure, they're not. They are very dependent on
They,
us.
they're not. Have you looked at their balance sheet and their assets? China has been hoarding natural resources, iron ore, copper, gold. They've got more gold than God. We can't even audit. We can't even audit Fort
Here,
Knox right now.
I'll tell you something interesting. I was at the inauguration for the crypto ball. There's a rumor going around that Biden and the Democrats may have emptied out Fort Knox to a, oh, hey, you got a puppy there? Puppy alert.
Yeah, yeah, I got a couple here. Trying
Oh,
to keep them off camera.
how many?
I got two.
Oh, really? I got three. I got those two little guys and I got the big guy. There's
Yeah.
a rumor that all the gold we think is in Fort Knox might not be there.
Well, that's the first of all, that's been something that's been a well-known secret for a lot longer than that. It wasn't Biden who got rid of the gold. That gold was gone a long time ago. So I'm not.
Well, actually, if you look at the actions of this last administration, they stole everything they could get, and they basically took everything that wasn't nailed down. There's a serious,
Where'd that come from? I haven't heard that.
I mean, look at all the fraud that they've uncovered. I mean, you
Yeah,
could
but
if you
that's been
if you get
endemic for years, though, man.
if you get $2 billion and you buy 100 energy efficient refrigerators with that money for some people in Georgia, Stacey Abrams, what's up, girl? And your nonprofit generated $100 in business for 3 years previous to that, but you spent $2 billion on 100 refrigerators. That's it. That's money laundering. That's straight up fraud.
Yeah, what do you think the government does? That's what they do. That's all they do.
Well, trust me, that's got to come to an end because the country cannot be
But
run.
it won't. It won't though. It won't. And it isn't. Like even Trump, like
Well,
look at
actually,
his
it's funny.
have you looked at his big beautiful bill? Have you looked at the details of the
What
big
bill?
beautiful the spending bill he's trying to push? The one with the $1 trillion for military spending, the one that is a huge increase in overall spending. Like that one?
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that. And I'll be honest with you, what really disappointed me is yesterday when Elon got up at the cabinet meeting and said, "Hey, we're on a pace by the end of next year to save 150 billion." And I was like, "What the fuck? What happened to a trillion?" Like I thought he found
It's
150 billion in like 3 days.
well, you know where that went, don't you?
I know exactly where it went.
Okay,
They
where to
they
go?
they got to him by burning down all of his Teslas.
No, that's not it. That's not
Pretty
mechanistically. I can tell you
pretty
exactly what
sure he
happened.
felt the
Did
squeeze somewhere. Somebody tapped him
nope,
on the shoulder.
it wasn't him. So first of all, Doge did find a lot more savings, and I had it all lined out. And you know where it got erased from?
Congress.
The CR, the one that Trump was threatening to primary Thomas Massey for opposing, the one
Yeah,
that spent.
an idea. I gotta say, I'm a huge Thomas Massey fan,
Me
and
too.
Trump should just shut the fuck up and leave him alone.
Yeah, but that's the problem is, and this is what I really, the thing that drives me nuts about Trump supporters is that they excuse away all of his like who he is at his core. He's a giant government.
Let's be honest about one thing. We are super lucky to have this administration and Trump versus what we were looking at with Kamala.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. By the way, I have no love for Harris, but here's what I will say. Here's what I've observed is when Democrats are in power, Republicans actually at least pretend to be conservative, reflexively just being against the other party. So if we had Kamala in office, all of the Republicans would be arm in arm opposing everything she was trying to do and would stop her, right? The thing that scares me is you have this giant government Democrat party and you have an even larger government Republican party right now, and nobody's stopping anybody. Everyone's saying spend, spend, spend to infinity. And then Doge, I feel bad for Elon because he's over here trying his best to figure out a way, being not in the government, to identify fraud, waste, and abuse and ways to cut the budget.
It's fraud. Like, it's mostly fraud.
Government is fraud by definition. So I'm not even going to split hairs around that. It's like, it's all bullshit. And he finds this stuff. And then it goes back to Congress. The CR says, okay, now we're going to wipe out all the Doge savings. And if you understand the way Congress works with appropriations, they hold the purse strings, and anything that they allocate via federal spending bills must be spent by law. So now they've said, thank you very much for identifying all the ways in which that we would cut government spending. We're going to codify that into the new CR. Now you're forced to spend it. Good luck, fuckers.
Well, that's not exactly what is possible because while that's true, the stuff that they've actually stopped payments on, they can actually allocate that money to buying Bitcoin and other stuff. So they can move things around. Just because they approved it and codified it doesn't mean that you have to spend $2 billion on 100 refrigerators with Fat Stacey Abrams.
Correct. You can cancel purchase orders, you can cancel contracts, but what I'm saying is that each of these agencies has funds that are allocated that must be spent somewhere, right?
Yeah,
And they can, and the
somewhere.
CR, that's what I'm telling you, the CR actually said, okay, you've identified all of our fuckery. Here, we're going to actually really double down on this and specify you must spend this here, right? So they completely, all they did was raise the alarm bells and said, hey, here's where we're going to cut. And then Congress said, thank you very much. We're going to codify this into law. Now you must spend it. Go fuck yourself, Elon. That's really what the message was. And Trump was behind all of it, 100% of it. He's like, give me more spending, approve Biden's spending. And then, primary Thomas Massey, because he stood in the way and said we should actually be responsible. And I think it's abhorrent. It's
I
absolutely,
think that's important. Massey and Rand Paul, two of the greatest leaders in our country, and Trump somehow like loves to rub elbows or bump heads with these guys.
yeah, exactly, because they're principled and they're actually conservative. And this is what I don't understand about the Republican Party today is that they're a bunch of fucking commies. I mean, I'm talking like rank and file. You look at the Gunther Engelman or whatever his name is, and all these major influencers that are the MAGA people, they're fucking leftists. They cheer for everything that Trump says. They're complete sycophants. They've got no moral center or
Well, let's
core
be
or
honest.
guiding
Let's
principles.
be honest. Trump does a lot of good things. For all the things you're hitting him hard on, I could probably name two things that he's doing good. Meaning two American.
Okay, well, here, let's start with the scale then. So he is responsible for not only the biggest crime against humanity, unleashing the coronavirus on the public, but also the response to it, Operation Warp
Well,
Speed, and what he
wait a second. Wait a second. You think Trump was the one behind unleashing coronavirus?
he's responsible for it, sure.
Actually, that started in 2014 with Anthony Fauci. That was a
No, no,
oh,
no, no,
and
no, 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 no.
hold on. Wait 1 second. Wuhan Labs. It was a bioweapons engineering laboratory.
Correct.
COVID-19 was a bioweapon designed
Yes,
from day one to be a bioweapon and to be something that ultimately moved very quickly from person to person.
yes, and
Their
Trump
biggest,
funded it. Trump funded it.
not in 2014, 15.
It wasn't 14 because there was a ban on gain of function research at the time,
Well,
and
here's
so
the thing. Here's the thing. He may have funded it, but I don't think he knew the government. He was more
doesn't matter. Doesn't
rally.
doesn't doesn't matter. The NIH is an executive branch.
Okay.
NIH rolls directly up to the
Listen,
executive,
I get
and
that, but I don't think. I think Fauci. He was said, "Hey, Fauci's a good guy. Let him run the things." I think Fauci was the real problem there, not Trump.
yeah, he was for sure. But this is what I hate about the people that sort of exonerate Trump or want to do this to him, is they say simultaneously, this is the just a wild genius that is playing 5D chess all the time, but he's also constantly at the same time being a genius playing 5D chess, being fooled by low-level staffers. Like I hate this stuff because no matter what he
Fauci's
does,
not a low level staffer. He was fairly in control of that NIH for a long time.
yes, he is. He's entrenched, right? So I get you could say that okay, Trump was fooled, and yeah, he reversed the ban of gain of function research, which by the way he pushed for. He wasn't like oblivious to this happening. He said we've got to roll this back. We've got to stop this gain of function ban. Like he was behind it. You look at the press releases. He knew it was
Well, I
happening. He knew.
don't think he knew what it was as much as guys like Rand Paul who knew what it was. I
Fair,
think
fair enough. Fair enough.
I
So
think
so
you
let's
could
let's
tell
give him that.
Trump,
Let's
hey, listen, here's a scientific term called gain of function. And he'll be like, yeah, hey, what do you think? And somebody will be like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I think what he thinks. He
which is
relied way too hard on people in his first term. Now I think he's actually got better people to rely on.
well, fair enough. So let's give him that. I'll give him a pass on that one. Let's say, for example, okay, fine, gain of function and the funding of the Wuhan Institute of Virology to develop the
That shit was kind
bioweapon.
of sneaky, by the way. The way they funded Wuhan was through.
Yeah, it was the Eco Health Alliance, Peter Daszak. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was after he was denied from a DARPA grant. He was going through DARPA to try to get grant money to do this. Once they turned, because basically he articulated in the grant proposal to DARPA that we want to essentially do this COVID type of testing, create this sort of variant and to test for coronaviruses. And they said, "Fuck yourself, it's too dangerous." And then so he went through Eco Health Alliance and got Fauci to fund it after the gain of function ban got lifted. So cool, it escaped from the lab. Now what are you going to do about it? Like look at his response. Like he is Mr.
I
Operation Warp Speed. Like
yeah,
he's the one who went to Pfizer, he went to Moderna, he
listen,
went to Johnson and Johnson, gave away the
I think
farm.
I think he fucked up a lot in his first term. and I think at the very low levels, he got snookered by the drug companies, by Fauci. But I'm not giving him a pass for that. I think at the end of the day, that was a learning lesson for him, and actually it was a learning lesson for America because we realized how fucking deep the corruption in our country goes. And by the way, why the fuck are we not talking about the fact that we had documents recently that told us the CIA was involved in killing a sitting president? Why the fuck is that not a conversation?
I mean, because everybody knew. I think everyone already knew that happened. I mean,
I didn't know it until I saw the documents. there's no way that can be.
we. Oh, really? I think most people in the circles that I swim in were kind of like shrug, like, yeah, we knew, of
I mean,
course.
listen, I like to give everything a chance to vet itself out. Like the fact that we just found out that the CIA helped fucking Hitler go all the way to fucking Argentina. How did it? What? Seriously, what the fuck?
However bad you think your government is, it's way worse than that. That's all I know.
That's one thing I think we've learned the hard way over the last 4 years. And the good news is Trump's a one-term president, and I
I
think
think that's a bad thing, honestly,
no,
because
I think
he's
that
not
no,
constrained. Like
no, 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 no. I got to tell you, I think it's a good thing, and I'll tell you why. He does not give a fuck anymore. He
and that's
wants
what scares me.
he wants real answers, and he is literally going to push the limits of this deep state bullshit. He doesn't give. He wants the fucking world to know how bad it's been. He
Oh,
wants.
really? Oh, really? So let me
He wants.
answer me this. Where's the fucking Epstein files?
Now that okay. So here's the thing.
Why is he protecting pedophiles?
Well, he's not protecting them. That information
Why?
is
What?
sitting in New York City. They haven't fucking released it. They have truckloads of data. I mean,
No, Pam said it's on my desk. Pam Bondi's like, I got the
huh?
files. They're on my desk.
No, okay, that was a stupid statement on her part. She said I got it on my desk, and then she had to come out days later and say, by the way, there's more that we haven't gotten, and it's in a fucking truck in New York.
You believe that shit?
I actually believe it 100%. I
Well, I
actually
don't.
believe most of the corruption around the whole Epstein thing happened in New York because the deep hooks in New York are so strong. I mean, that is the most corrupt state in the union.
You're never seeing the Epstein files. Never.
Well, here's the funny thing. I don't know why everyone wants to see the Epstein files. You can find out all the names that are on the list.
No, you
The
not
law,
necessarily. We've got a redacted list from flight logs. That's all you have. But you have to understand something. They prosecuted, two people over trafficking of minors to children for sex, right? And there's no clients. You're
yeah.
going to tell me that there's no clients? That's fucking insane. You cannot prosecute somebody without there being a client that this person was trafficked to. Trafficked to
Well,
who? Like we
well,
don't
that's
have
the
any
funny
answers
thing.
around that.
The thing that blows my mind is why hasn't Giselle just fucking, you know, flipped?
Well, I
She
don't know,
spent
but
20 years in jail and she hasn't flipped. And that girl
well,
knows where all the dead bodies are laying.
yeah, her dad was Mossad.
And by the
It-
way, here's the crazy thing. How did she not get a pardon? I was pretty for sure she was going to get one of those 8,000 pardons.
Who knows? Like, that's what I'm saying. We have no answers here. We've got a whole bunch of questions, and nobody has any fucking answers. But
Well, I'll
everyone
tell you,
knows
I'll tell
that
you
that
right now, the one person that has all the answers is her. And the fact that
oh,
she's still alive is shocking.
for sure, and she may not be for too much longer. Who knows? But the thing is, like, we understand like what Epstein was. Epstein was controlled by Mossad. You've got Israeli intelligence that was running the whole operation, compromising all of the politicians and everyone with any sort of power, including scientists.
Fuck,
Um,
I think the sun just exploded on your.
yeah, yeah. I got this stupid. I hate this. I like recording in the different part of the day. There we go. I can put my hand over it.
Yeah, it was funny because I kept seeing it get brighter and brighter, and I'm like, holy shit, he's being hit by a fucking solar flare.
Yeah, I usually record it in the evening. I don't have to deal with this, but sometimes during the day, it's like fuck. It'll go through like the whole like pinhole in the blinds, and I'm
I think your dog is trying to look out the window too.
yeah, probably.
He's like, Dad, Dad, the solar flare is coming our way. We got to hurry up.
Man, or how about Cash Patel? Let's change the subject. Like he got in and completely bitched out. You have
No
RFK Jr.
shit. I was so fucking surprised.
Oh, I'm
First
gonna
day, first
first
day.
day turn it to a museum. We're shutting down the FBI. That's
Well,
all bullshit.
yeah, I don't give a fuck about shutting it down, but hey, how about fucking exposing some of this bullshit? And he like the guy they recently,
Never happening.
I'm like, how the fuck did he get? Like they've got to have some serious hooks. Washington has some serious hooks into people like Cash. I know Elon, when he said the 150 billion, I'm pretty sure that the last couple of weeks he's been getting some private phone calls and saying, "Hey, if you don't stop, we are going to burn all your Teslas down."
Who knows what it is, but the point is that the government is the people that are in power are not going to be taken down. Like nothing's ever going to change. This is just what government is. This is why you can't have a government.
I don't know. I got that never quit mentality dog in me. So at the end of the day, I kind
What's
of
it?
hope I
What
kind
are,
of hope we fix things in the next couple of years, at least a little bit. Like we don't have to fix everything, but we got to fix the economic things because if we don't start really running this country like a company, we are going to find ourselves at a very bad point here very soon. Like the US dollar, you're right, it is trash. Like I would rather have Bitcoin than US dollar all day long. I'll be honest with you, I think what BRICS is doing is fucking genius. I mean, I wouldn't tie myself to the US dollar after watching what we did to Russia. I mean, Russia, we basically turned off SWIFT, confiscated all their money, stole some yachts.
Mhm.
And if I was another country, I'd be like, well, if they did that to Russia, we could easily get crushed.
Yeah,
I think,
if we lose the world reserve currency status, it's over. The petrodollar falls apart. The US is done. It's bankrupt tomorrow.
well, I don't know about that because I think
I
what
promise you that. I promise you that. Do you understand how what the implications of that are?
I get that, but at some level, I think some retard starts a war somewhere then, and that basically shuts that up. And I think at a very high level, the US uses murder, death, kill as a tool to negotiate.
Of course. Yeah, I always love that meme that says, "Oh, the US dollar is not backed for by anything." And then the second frame shows like a whole bunch of like Navy warships and stuff. Like that's what it's backed by. It's backed by force.
Yeah, exactly. Like we take out entire countries, Iraq, Syria. We overtake countries like Libya just to make a point, to prove to the world a point. And
Yeah.
I think that about America because inherently it's evil in nature that people are going to die for us to have power and control over the world.
Yeah, but nobody cares about that.
Well, I mean, some people care.
Very few. I'm one of the people that is always raising my hand on that issue, and also just of government generally. A lot of people think that government is some benevolent, virtuous organization, and it's organized crime essentially. It's evil, and it's indefensible. And so, like, I'm in the boat. Like I said, I'm a free market guy. I'm like, we cannot have a government. It's completely immoral. It's
Well,
unethical to
I
the
think
core.
one of the things that Satoshi did when he created Bitcoin is he created a people's currency that we could separate from government control. No
Well,
matter
that was the
what
idea in the
this,
white paper, but ultimately the application of it left a lot to be desired. Bitcoin, it does not work for its intended purpose. It's a complete failure
well, I wouldn't call it a complete failure, but I do agree that what
for
Satoshi,
towards its intended purpose. If you looked at Satoshi's white paper, as far as a peer-to-peer cash, that's not what it is.
like I said, I was just going to say, I, I think what he intended to do, Monero became closer to what in Satoshi's vision was than what Bitcoin is today. Bitcoin,
Bitcoin Cash is probably closer.
huh?
I think Bitcoin Cash is closer to his original intent.
Well, the only reason I pick up Monero more than Bitcoin Cash is because Monero had one of the biggest things that Satoshi wanted, which was privacy.
Yeah,
Bitcoin
yeah.
doesn't have the privacy
C-
that.
c- Correct. There's a bunch of people that are working on privacy coin stuff. Like that's clearly important because having no anonymity around transactions is a real problem.
Yep, dude.
But
This
I'm just saying, like BTC though, it's shit. It's just it's supposed to be like this, digital gold. This is a store of value type of thing, and it's not what it was intended for. And they really fucked it up, and they didn't have to. If they would have got the block size right, they could have done a lot better job.
maybe I don't know if the block size was the big deal. I
Oh, it's
think
definitely you can't transact. There's no way. Like the Bitcoin is way too slow. That's what Bitcoin Cash fixed. So Bitcoin Cash is a much faster
what
transactionally.
do you
You
think
can't.
about Roger Ver? I can't believe that.
I know Roger Ver.
Huh?
I know Roger Ver.
I've known Roger for almost 12 years. I knew him before he really got heavily into Bitcoin because
Yeah,
he was trading memory chips on eBay with it.
exactly. That's how I got. I used to have an asset recovery company, a technology asset recovery, selling used Cisco routers and
Yeah,
switches and stuff. And
I used to out here in Chicago, LaSalle Partners. Me and the LaSalle Partners, we'd go into companies and we'd pull out all the memory chips and I'd sell some of them to Roger.
Yeah, great, great. Yeah, so I was working with him there, and also I was my day job. I was trying to get a major e-commerce company in the United States to accept Bitcoin as currency. So I worked with him on that project as well. So yeah, it's been a while.
I'm actually surprised that Trump hasn't given him some sort of pardon or gotten the watchdogs off of him because
I'm not surprised.
this case that the IRS is taking up against him is
Complete
absolutely
bullshit.
insane. It's the most insane shit I've ever seen in my life. And
Yeah,
I
they're making an example of him.
legally he hasn't gotten it thrown out of court yet. It's the craziest shit.
I just don't think Trump wants to. I think Trump got beholden with the Ross free Ross movement, like Ross Ulbricht. Like he promised the Libertarian Party that he would free Ross if they threw the support behind him, and so I think he did that begrudgingly. It goes against his brand. It goes against everything that he
Well, you
stands
got to
for.
admit he kept his word on that, and
He did.
Ross could have been freed a long time ago.
For sure, and I gave Trump credit on my episodes of my show several times. I've given him credit for that. I think it's the only good thing he's really done, and I
Now,
will.
now, now, now. It's not the only good thing. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Give me something else.
At least one other good thing he's done.
I don't think I can. I mean, besides being
Point.
funny,
It was
the
a
guy's
huge move. No, just kidding.
the guy's funny. Yeah, yeah. He would had like what is his strategic fart coin reserve or shit coin reserve, like that. That was lovely to see a bunch of bullshit included in that.
Well, that's David Sachs, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not impressed with David at all. David is, yeah, he's a useless headpiece right now.
I really struggle to find something good that Donald Trump did. He's about ready to start World
Tulsi
War III with
Gabbard.
Iran. Like that's not great.
No,
Uh,
I think he brought Tulsi Gabbard into a good role. I think getting RFK in there.
you talking about the same Tulsi that was like thumbs up about leveling an apartment building with civilians in it in Yemen? That one?
Uh, is that recent news? Because no, I
Oh
haven't.
yeah, you didn't pay attention to the signal leaks with Pete Hegseth and Vance and all those the war planning around.
I'll be honest with you. That was a setup. That guy let that guy in, and that guy was a setup. And I'll
No,
be
that doesn't matter. That's not. I don't give a shit about that.
Hegseth.
I don't care who is. I
Hegseth.
don't care who was in the room.
He would have been smart
Go
to
ahead.
get rid of that guy. That guy fucking threw. That was a setup.
Probably, but what I saw from the signal logs is that they said, okay, hey, we found the guy who we think is a missile guy, and we tracked him to this residential apartment building where his girlfriend lives, and we've leveled the place. And then Tulsi's like, great job, thumbs up. I'm like, that Tulsi?
Well, I didn't see that, so I don't know the context of all that. But I think overall, she is a great person to put in charge of that piece of the pie. She was a good addition to the. I got to admit, this administration has some amazingly talented people around it.
Who have all sold out the second they joined forces. That when they got confirmed, RFK, what's the first thing? Oh, the biggest threat to global health is anti-Semitism, and we're going to push the MMR shots. Like measles is now like a huge concern. Like he's completely flipped on every single position he held when he was campaigning, as with everybody else. Kash Patel, he said he's going to do X, he did completely the opposite. Did Y. Like none of these people are serious. It's all bullshit.
I think Elon's serious. I think he's literally doing.
Elon, yes, but he's not in the government. He's a business person that actually has some fucking sense, and
I
then
think,
he's being hamstrung by Trump.
yeah, I think in many
You,
ways,
you realize that the divorce is on. I mean, you realize that he's already criticizing Trump, and the divorce is like it's starting to take shape. Like he's out. He's going to be out of the circle, and they're going to be probably have a pretty messy divorce.
I haven't seen him criticize Trump at all. I don't know where that came from.
On the tariffs, he was really opposed to the tariffs.
Yeah, I think.
Called the guy who was called the guy that was in charge of that whole policy dumber than a sack of bricks in
Oh, you're
public.
talking about Peter Navarro. He
I'm
wasn't
not sure who it was.
that policy. That's Peter. Peter Navarro's got no power. He's not even in charge of shit. He just gets on TV every now and then, and yeah, he's Navarro's actually a decent guy, but he doesn't have any role in the administration.
Well, one thing I do know is that Elon is completely contradicting Trump and saying Trump's tariffs are a terrible idea, and that does not play well with Trump. We know
Listen,
this.
buddy, he can be differential on the tariffs, but I think overall you're never going to be 100% in line. I mean,
Well,
it's smart to be 100% in line.
Trump demands 100% loyalty. Otherwise, you're out. That's just the
Oh
way
yeah,
he
he,
operates things.
he let so many people like he brought Bolton on board, and when Bolton was a fucking parasite. And by the way,
God,
that was a horrible fucking move.
yeah, yeah. That's part of that 5D chess that I'm complaining about. Like Bolton, you know who the fuck Bolton was? What are you doing?
I think in many cases there's some dark room meetings where they literally put a little bit of thumb pressure on these people, whether it's Trump or Elon or Tulsi or whatever. And yeah, there's some things that happen behind closed doors that we don't know about.
Well, maybe. I don't really know. The only thing that I do know is that Trump wants to spend indefinitely, and that's going to kill us. We are at the end of that rope. We do not have any more fiscal leverage left. We're out. We're at the end of the rope. There's nothing left. And he's like, nope, spend more, spend more, spend more. That's going to kill us. Nothing else really matters.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I literally couldn't agree. If we don't fix the economic policies of this country, we are bankrupt.
Well, I would say we're already bankrupt. Just people haven't figured it out yet.
That's a good statement, and I think you're right. But I think it's delayed bankruptcy. Like we're bankrupt, but it just hasn't hit us into a massive depression, which I think is coming.
Yeah, because we've technically defaulted on our debt. That's what inflation is. Inflation is basically paying back your debt that you took out with money that's worth less.
I will say
When,
one. I did buy some eggs recently, and they are much lower in price. Just so you know.
well, yeah, but that's because they culled like the entire
I'm,
friggin' egg laying herd under
I'm
Biden. You
kidding.
know,
I'm
they.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right, I thought you were being serious. I'm like Jesus. Like, yeah, it's great to
No, because
see eggs
everyone
coming
makes a
down,
big
but
deal out of egg prices. I'm like, egg prices? That's the barometer. I mean, that's an economic signal.
yeah, it's silly because everything has gone up exponentially. I mean, Trump caused the inflation crisis that we suffered with under Biden. I think that's underappreciated, and everything went up. Like, I mean, you print a shit ton of
Well,
money,
I'll
of
give
course.
him a little bit of a pass because that whole COVID thing was planned years, probably at least a decade in advance by some evil motherfuckers. And it was always designed to be a money grab. It was always designed to be a money grab.
So why are you giving him a pass when everybody that I know at the time was jumping up and down screaming, saying, "What the fuck are you doing? This is obvious what's going on. How is the smartest man, this
Well,
huge
yeah, I
genius,
was I was disagreeing with everything that back then. Also, I can disagree, but Trump is one guy, and when there's an
pretty
entire
fucking important guy, though,
I
and
get it.
especially
I get it, but he didn't understand how to be a president in his first term. I'm going to give him a little bit of I'm not giving him 100% pass, but I'm going to say I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because I think he was put into a situation where he didn't understand how evil the fucking what he's doing, by the way. I don't know if you realize what he's doing, by the way. He's selling off all these buildings in Washington, and he's literally moving Washington the fuck out of Washington. He's getting rid of some of these bureaucrats because they are the cancer that's killing this country. And that's one good
it
thing that
doesn't matter though. If you're not going to cut the budget, it doesn't fucking matter. None of it matters. Not even a little bit.
well, listen, I get the whole budget thing, but I'll be honest with you. That has to happen whether it's Trump or whoever else, the administration has to cut the budget. And at the end of the day, we're going to continue to see economic peril if we continue running our country like this.
Yeah, and the problem I have with him is he's the person who signs the fucking bill into law. It doesn't pass without his signature. And he's never said, I'm going to veto a bill, a spending bill. He said it one time. Do you know why he threatened to veto? The only time he threatened to veto, you know what it was for?
What?
Bill being too small. He wanted to spend more money. No shit. It was during COVID, and he wanted a bigger, more expensive bill. That's the only time he's threatened to veto in his entire presidency, and he's not going to do it here. He's like,
Well, I
give
will
me
say
more,
one
give me
thing.
more.
I'm super disappointed to see how the work that Doge has been doing is literally getting railroaded out the door.
Yep, just all for nothing.
Yeah, that's and by the way, all the social security numbers that were issued and all that fraud behind that, can we just see some people go to jail? Like
No,
money laundering is a crime, fraud is a crime. Where the fuck are the handcuffs?
there's not going to be any handcuffs.
That's I hate to agree with you on that, but that's the sad news.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's going to be these deep state arrests. Everyone's going to, no, it's like Hillary and lock her up. No, Hillary wasn't going to get locked up either, and nobody else is going to get locked up. They'll probably make an example out of some drug
Somebody's going
traffickers.
to get it. Like
They're
I think
they're going to.
I think the
You
brisket girl out of Texas, that she might end up getting elected.
Well, that's the way it goes. They pick a low level person and they make an example of them, right? They put them up and like here, let's say there's a small time person that was in charge of helping illegals get Social Security cards or whatever it's going to be, some SNAP fraud or something like that's worth a couple $1 million, and they're going to put that person away for fucking life, double life sentence, throw away the key. Oh, and Pam Bondi's going to run out in Fox News and say what a great job. It's all fucking bullshit. Any of the people that do any of this large scale fraud, they're the ones in control of the government and there's not going to be any arrests, man.
That's the part that's disappointing. And when you realize that, you realize we're fucked as a country.
Yep. So the question is, what comes next? Because the United States is bankrupt. It's in the process of defaulting. It's going to hard default at some point. At some point, it's going to be like we can't pay our bonds back. Everyone's got to take a haircut. We have to restructure our debt. And then the question is, what next?
A very economic depression. I think AI looming and jobs getting cut and lost, and our debt. I think they're creating a perfect storm for a long depression. Like I'm talking years.
We don't need AI for this, man. Like our spending has already done this. Like we put
No,
too much on their credit card, and then
yeah,
no matter what happens, it's over.
I get it, but if you take all the spending, the money that we don't have, and you take the loss of jobs due to AI, and you put those at around the same time, which is like the end of this year, you're literally creating a perfect storm for an economic collapse.
Cool. Sounds fun. What do we do next?
I'll be honest with you. I think we're getting to Mars. I think we're all gonna we're all gonna have to go to
We
Mars
can't even run shit on Earth, man. What makes me think we can do any better on Mars?
to reset, baby. Go to Mars and reset.
Yeah, but we're gonna just take the same problems with us because the people haven't changed.
Buddy, I'm joking. I mean,
I know. I
you
know. I
know,
get it is a joke, but I think you're somewhat serious. Like
well, I'm literally not keen on the whole concept of getting into a rocket and going to Mars. Like me personally.
yeah, somebody else can do that shit. I'm going down with this ship, whatever this is.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the first people that go to Mars are going to be Optimus Prime robots. They're going to ship like 50 of those fuckers, then they're going to ship a couple more. They're going to ship like 300, and before we ever get to Mars, there'll be robots in charge. Fucking Terminator is going to be running Mars. They're going to be
And
like,
here too.
huh?
That's what scares me is the hybrid of AGI plus robotics. Like that's terrifying.
That's very
That
true. Like here's
that's
the
a
crazy thing. There's a guy here in Vegas that's putting roofs on with these robots. Like they're mechanical arms that basically they rip off the a roof and they put a new one on. It's one guy and five robots. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's insane.
I I think that's awesome. That's an increase in productivity. I think that's always good. But what I don't like are the future where robots can program themselves, can assemble themselves, and alter their programming. Like that's terrifying.
Well, Grok 3 is already teaching itself Grok 4. It's
I did not know that.
yeah, which if you think about it is crazy. That's how fast AI is escalated in skill.
Well, I still can't even draw a picture of a full glass of wine though. So I think I'm still okay right now. Maybe when it can draw a full glass of wine or water, I'll be more concerned. But I think we still have a long way to go in the AI space.
I don't know. I mean, put it this way. I think we're about 10 months to 12 months away from seeing AI dramatically eliminate a lot of high-paying jobs, lawyers, accountants, graphic designers, and then some low-end jobs, Uber drivers, even Amazon drivers. Like, I can't wait till the fucking Amazon truck has some robot drop my box off.
Oh, it's coming.
Like,
It's
I think it's coming a lot faster. Here in Vegas, 2 days before Christmas last year, 17,000 workers told Bezos, "Hey, we want more pay, or we're not coming to work." He said, "You don't get to work by 5. I'll take that as a sign that you're quitting."
Mhm.
At 5:01, they replaced everybody with a robot. And literally in the parking lot, as they were interviewing these people, oh my God, I didn't see it coming. I couldn't see it. What happened? I didn't. Why weren't we told about this? We didn't see it happening.
Well, I
That's
don't know who's not seeing it happen because Amazon's been very clear about their intention. Like, we don't want people working in our warehouses. We don't want humans doing it. They've got a bunch of it automated. They have a bunch of robotics associated with it. And, I think that's a great thing. I don't think people want to work in fucking warehouses. It's terrible. It's an awful way to live. And I would love to have the productivity increases of robots and AI. That's a wonderful thing generally. But
Yeah,
yeah.
those people that are working in those warehouses, they're not creating a plan for their life. The people that are driving Ubers, they're not creating a plan for their lives. So when you basically bankrupt and put those people out of work, you better have a plan for those people because they don't have a plan. And when they don't
Well,
have a plan, you're talking about a massive group of people that'll be homeless, unemployed, and resorting to crime in order to survive.
yeah, yeah, and I would just tell those people you better get a damn plan because the world's not stopping and waiting for you, and I would not expect someone to come save you.
I talk to Uber drivers all the time. I'm blind in one eye, so I literally drive Uber all the time. I think I've taken, like, no joke, 18,000 Uber drives, which, if you think about it, is crazy high. Look at your Uber account and you'll be like, fuck, 18,000 is a big number. But I've talked to a lot of Uber drivers. I literally drive with them all the time. And they're just oblivious. They don't, yeah, well, that's not going to happen for a while. Nobody. So, yeah, I went to Phoenix, and 90% of all the cars, Uber cars in Phoenix, are self-driving. 90%. Now,
Hmm.
part of the problem is they couldn't get people to drive down there. So they test marketed Phoenix because they needed drivers because there's a lot of retired people that need rides, but they didn't have enough drivers. So they put Waymos in there like crazy. I drove Waymos, like, no joke, almost every trip that I took while I was in Phoenix. And at the end of the day, I was like, fuck, this is awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not not resisting the advancement of technology. I think it's generally very good and
I'm not
productivity.
resisting that, but I think that it's ultimately a threat to mankind and its survival. I think that it's going.
I don't think so.
Oh, I absolutely think so. I
No, I
think
think it'll be a
group of
net
people.
positive for sure, as long as we don't kill ourselves with war and that sort of thing. Because this could definitely be co-opted in the use of war. You look at what's happening in Ukraine, even silly things like the drones. If you paid attention to those drone videos where they're sending out drones just to blow the shit out of people, like that's terrifying. And if you start thinking about, that's a very unsophisticated style of warfare. That is very bare bones, duct tape and twine type of situation.
Did you see what the kid that made Oculus Rift? What's his name? Palmer. You know
Hmm.
Palmer. Did you see what he built recently?
No.
He got this defense company. I want to say Argylus or something, Arquilus, and he's got this machine that basically fits on the back of a truck. It's got like a big, like a square block, and it basically aims up and it shoots these fucking drones out, and they come out like little missiles, and they spread out and create like wings and stuff. And like he shoots, like, I'm not kidding you, 100 of them out of the back of a truck, and then they go and they do their mission strikes and everything, but they're just like unbelievable. And then he brings them back, and they're like they come right back to the truck.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm just terrified of the future of warfare because it is getting.
Well, here's the other.
Uh,
He actually made another thing where if your drone's coming, he has this machine that'll actually knock the drone out of the sky, like totally, like, just I want to, like, it's a directed EMP. And here's the crazy thing. They interviewed, I want to say, some guy, Brad Lee had him on. I want to say Mickey Mace, a gambler, but he talked about something that was the craziest thing I ever seen. He had video footage of a picture, a video he took throughout the neighborhoods of Pacific Palisades, and it showed cars like in Maui melted into the ground with grass and everything else around it still green, and literally trees not touched or burned, but the car, like, right, but here's car, grass, tree, and literally melted to the ground, burned to the ground. And he's like, that's a directed energy weapon. I actually think Maui and Pacific Palisades was a directed energy weapon, whether it was the US government that did it or some other party, like maybe China, who wants to see us suffer. I think that's happening. Like, I just can't explain how these cars can melt into the ground and then there's grass next to them. Like that, just don't, that will never make sense to me.
yeah, well, I don't know, right? Stuff like that, I agree is at least plausible. We don't know what other nation states have. I
Well, the
think
one guy that Ryan interviewed, what's his name, the former CIA guy, he interviewed a guy that literally worked in Antarctica, and he literally talked about the work that they were doing on directed energy weapons. And he's like, "Yeah, we've got that."
It's entirely possible. Like, but the thing that I don't know, I'm not enough of an expert in thermodynamics to understand, like, because I know that the way fires are, they move one direction, they go another direction. Like, it's like tornadoes. A bunch
Get
of
the whole
weird shit
fire
happens.
moving, but you can't have green grass next to a car melted into the street. Like it's
Yeah,
physically impossible.
I
It's
don't know if it's
fucking
impossible or
fire.
not, honestly. Like I'm a dummy. I couldn't say one way or the other, but I will say that it's certainly plausible, particularly with the stuff that's going on with UAPs, right? Like there's something going on with UAPs. I don't think it's aliens. It's probably something terrestrial. It's probably a government that's got advanced tech. It could be us. Who the hell knows?
Well, I don't know what happened to all the drones in New Jersey, but they went poof, they disappeared.
Boy, like overnight, they stopped talking about that, huh?
Well, it wasn't overnight. It was like it lasted for like 2 weeks and then
Well,
poof, gone.
it
And
felt like it was just like it was like the biggest news story ever. Then people just shut up about it
yeah,
instantly.
by the way, when Trump said I'm getting into office, I'm gonna explain what that was. Where did that come from? That's one thing I kind of want to go, hey, Trumpy, can we find out what the whole New Jersey thing was? And now
He just
nobody's fucking talking about that.
Yeah, well, any politician saying anything on a campaign trail, I'm just like, just forget that. That's not going to happen. That's just my cynical approach.
Get that? But I'm kind of hoping that we get some truth, some information. Because there's no fucking way we don't know what those drones were. We got too much. I mean, Elon alone has like, I want to say like maybe 1,000 satellites floating around the country. Like we got enough satellites, we can figure out what that shit is.
Well, that's not what the satellites are designed for, but I get your point. Like there's somebody knows. Somebody knows what the hell
Somebody
this
knows.
stuff is.
There's no fucking way somebody's going to convince me we don't know what that was.
No, we clearly do. Whatever. I won't know. I'm just a dummy that's hypothesizing. So I'm like, no, I stick to the things I do know, and one thing I do know is that we're fucking bankrupt, and I don't know what to do about it.
Uh, Personally, I would just not trust the bank system because my buddy works for a bank and he's kind of delirious about it. I've been telling him for years, buddy, you work inside that industry. If I were you, I think the banking system has collapsed already. Like here, I'll give you another example. I played poker and I needed cash that I had in my account, like significant amount. It took me a week to order, not a lot, not what I consider a lot, $70,000 cash. And then they had to like make me fill out all these forms, and I had to
Hmm.
explain what I was using it for. And it was a poker tournament, blah blah blah. It was just 70 grand cash. I had to beg for that money, and they said even when I came in that day, they're like, "Well, we don't even have that on hand." I'm like, "What do you have on hand?" They're like 10 grand. I'm like, "What? You're a bank?"
Yeah, that's the bank, but it's all digital, man. It's just ones and zeros.
Yeah. He's like, and it's mostly singles. I'm like, "What? Who the fuck uses a single anymore?"
Yeah, especially in Vegas, man. That's where the singles go. At
Exactly.
the Spearmint Rhino or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I told people this a long time ago. I don't trust the banking system for anything. In fact, last year, when nobody talks about it, last year we had more banks collapse in
Mm.
taxi insurance than in the history of our country. And
I
nobody's
was
talking about that. And
I
here's
was
the other
watching
thing.
that closely, man. The Sun Trust thing, there was a bunch of banks that were just teetering on the edge, and it would have caused a global financial meltdown, man. We were right on the edge.
Yeah. And I don't think like everyone understands that still is a system that's literally bankrupt. Like if anyone thinks that FDIC means anything, they're out of their fucking mind. Because oh yeah, my shit's FDIC insured. The fuck it is.
No,
FDIC
it's
got
not.
24 billion in reserves to back up 73 trillion in deposits. And what they did to the Silicon Valley Bank, that was fucking criminal. They made everybody whole from Silicon Valley Bank because they're political donors.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty criminal.
Well, like I said, that's what government is. It's just a crime organization. What do you expect? I don't know what people expect. Why people expect better or different from the government? It just baffles me.
How long do you think it is before we see the first state secede? And I think it's going to happen.
I don't know. I don't know who would secede.
Oh, I
Like,
know, I know at least three.
because I mean, Texas is the one you typically think about, but Texas has been completely pussified in the last 5 years. Like everybody from California moved there, and it's turned to this weird purple state. They're
Yeah,
not going to
I would
secede
say
from anywhere.
Austin and Houston are fucked right now. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how they let those two cities go to shit. I was in Austin recently. It's
I was too a couple weeks ago.
yeah, it looks like fucking San Francisco. You got people shitting on the street. You got homelessness out of control, and plus the traffic. I don't know what they're doing about the traffic
Oh,
situation.
it's awful there, isn't it?
It's unfucking believable. Like I'm like, buddy, you guys got to figure out some sort of train system or transit system. This is insane.
Yeah, man. I went to Terry Black's, the one downtown, and we came from the Domain area, and it must have taken like an hour and a half to get downtown. It was insane.
Yeah, Austin is nearly unlivable now. Like it's really a bad situation. And Houston's right behind it too.
Yeah. So who else would you see seceding then?
Idaho, no brainer.
What that doesn't make any sense. So if
Well, they're
because
self-sufficient. They have a budget surplus. Unlike any other state, they're fiscally run very well. And I think the federal government actually hurts Idaho.
how is Idaho self-sufficient? Number one, they're landlocked, right? So how are they? Because they don't produce everything they need in Idaho. Like they import a ton of stuff.
Well, they tax all the natural gas that's going through from the north. So they get that pipeline where they literally make all that revenue off the pipeline.
Yeah, but if they were a separate nation state, they wouldn't get that. I mean, they could renegotiate a deal, I guess, but
State money. Yeah, of course they would get that. They just would have to no longer be a part of the federal government and therefore take the burdens of federal government.
yeah, I always thought it'd be a state that was on the coast somewhere. Like I would think New Hampshire would make a lot of sense with the Free State Project. Like I would love to see those guys secede.
They just
But
don't have the economic stability. They don't have the revenue.
yeah, I mean, they're most of the revenue is
Like
is
Idaho could do it, Florida could do it. Yeah, Florida, Idaho. I think Texas, but you make a very good point about them going purple.
yeah, Florida maybe. Like I think Florida's pretty purple too, though. Even though they've tilted more red recently, they're still a pretty purple state.
Not really. Not as much as you think. I mean, they have pockets where like, South Miami is Democrat, but it's not as the people think that like a lot of Latin people are Democrat. They're not. They're actually very much conservative.
Well,
In fact,
something's changed then because like you even look at the big thing with Bush v. Gore, like that was all based out of Florida. Like it was a hair's breadth between and it seemed like every year Florida seems to be one of those toss-up states until very recently. So I don't know if there's been a major demographic shift or people just moved to Florida that have a different
I think they've
you know.
uncovered a lot of voter fraud that they got rid of. Like they really ran through all the elections people, and they literally cleaned out some people that were doing some shady shit. I mean, if you look at some of the convictions in Florida, they convict people hard for voter fraud. Like you actually go to jail, and they perp walk you, and they put you in the news, and they make it a big deal. So they've
Huh.
scared. I think they've scared a lot of people that were playing games with the voter, at least on a federal level.
Well,
Maybe
I don't know. I've never really spent a whole lot of time paying attention to politics generally, let alone state politics. So I have no idea. But yeah, I always thought Texas would be the one to secede, but anymore, I don't really think so. I think we're going to have, something is going to disintegrate. The United States is going to become insolvent. And then maybe that's going to be the catalyst to have a balkanization like the EU did, where it's going to or like reverse of what the EU did in Great Britain. So some sort of split off, and maybe people, have regional states that form together, like mini state, nation state. I don't fucking know. I just wish we go to anarchy and get it over with, and have some free markets for once.
I think anarchy's coming. I think we're like not
Well,
gonna.
what scares me though, even being an anarchist, is like I want people to do it intentionally, right? Like understand,
Understand when anarchy comes, the deep state or the dark people, they're going to lean on the military. And the military is going to show a very evil side.
I think they only have one side, don't they?
I mean, just because I know a lot of people in the military people in general are inherently good-hearted. Your dog's climbing on the couch. I love it. But they're inherently good. It's the leadership that I think is hardcore evil.
I disagree a little bit. And I'm a veteran too, so I can say this. Don't try to cancel me here. But I think the frontline
Hold
people
on, I
have
got to cancel you. Wait, where's the cancel button?
a
Fuck!
just
I
all
got
you
the
have to do
MacBook without the cancel button.
all you have to do is clip this and put it on X. They'll cancel. They'll come after me. The righties hate me when I talk about this stuff. But no, I think that the individuals, the low level people, have far more responsibility, moral responsibility, and culpability for their actions than the people in leadership do. I mean, if I say to you, "Hey, go murder your wife right now," uh, and you go do it, am I more to blame or are you?
I mean, is that a silly question? I mean, of course, the
No,
person
no.
did it.
Well, hold on a second. But with respect to the military, people seems to get it flipped, and they say, "Oh, well, it's actually the leaders,"
Whoa, whoa,
right?
whoa. Hold on. You tell me to go murder my wife. That's you as a human telling me as a human. A general telling a group of soldiers to go and attack, that's a whole different dynamic there.
No, it's not. It's a human to human. It's one human telling another human to
I
perform
get
an
it,
action.
he's human, but here's the other thing. He's the leader of the hierarchy. All these soldiers, all their lives, have been trained to respect hierarchy. So when he gives an order, it's different than you telling me a suggestion. I give
Not
you,
morally, not morally, it's not.
huh?
Not morally, it's not. Because
Listen,
if you decide to put a bullet in somebody's head, regardless of who tells you to do it and why, you are morally culpable for your actions, right?
the
Nobody.
moral is one thing, but responsible, morally responsible, if that's what we're talking about, yes, you have a moral obligation to be a good human. But responsible, your actions, if you're told something by your superior in the military, I mean, sure, there's maybe one out of 100 guys that might refuse that order, but the other 99 have been trained to be soldiers.
No, no, sure. I get it. Like I said, I'm a soldier. Like I went through all that and I understand exactly what the indoctrination that happens during basic training and advanced individual. I know all that stuff. And I understand the structure exists and people do things mindlessly because that's what they were told. That's what we're trained to do. I'm not getting, that's not my point. I'm talking about from a moral perspective. People give soldiers a pass and they're the ones that are actually murdering other human beings wherever third world country they're deployed to. They volunteered to go. They signed up knowing that the job was to murder strangers on behalf of the federal government. They knew that going in. Like that is the job.
Know that, but some people's motive for signing up is GI Bill or debt or security or wealth. You know what? And when I say wealth, just being taken care of by the government. So their motive was for money reasons. Their understanding is that, hey, when I'm in the military, yes, I have to murder people.
Yeah, that's what paid assassins do. They're in it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. And
Exact same thing. If you're a hitman, you are exactly on the same moral footing as a
let's
soldier.
understand, some people join the military because they just like to kill people too. There's some,
That is definitely true.
yeah, that there's a certain percentage. I don't know what the number is, but let's say it's 20%.
There's a bunch of reasons people do it, and it doesn't really matter. That's the point. Is like intent doesn't matter. Like the point is you volunteered, you signed up to go murder other people potentially on behalf of politicians in DC. That was the job that you took, and I get tired of people glorifying these folks. Thank you for your service. You're the greatest person ever. Like I don't believe that bullshit.
Yeah, but if you thank somebody for their service, it's because they risked their lives so that this country could have a military. They risked their lives and they were at the front of the line. They were the ones that are willing to take a bullet too. They might be willing to kill people, but they're also willing to take a bullet.
For sure, as is any contract killer. Like you go into a situation knowing that you might get got to. So that's irrelevant. I don't like that argument. And
Assassins and military people, sometimes military people, they don't have the idea of being able to pick out their target. Assassins do have the ability to pick out their target. I'll take that job because I want to kill that guy and get paid for that money. Or they can say, I don't want to take that job. I don't want to kill that mother of two kids.
yeah, but you do realize that's worse, right? Where you're like, I will indiscriminately kill anybody somebody points me towards versus being selective about your targets. It's actually worse.
Yeah, but wait a second, wait a second. I'm saying they don't have that choice. Like, hey,
Everyone has a
we're
choice.
going into the city as a team of 20 soldiers, and our job is to take it over. And if somebody pops their head out at you, put two in the head and one in the heart.
Right, but you're not getting the whole point is that you volunteered to go to a place where
No, I
you're
get that.
it's not your home. You're going to somebody else's home. You're invading their country and then you're going to murder them, right? And you don't even know this person's name. You don't have no clue about anything. Like you just like I will shoot any motherfucker that's in this place that I don't belong. It's abhorrent. Morally it's unconscionable that people sort of flippantly dismiss this like this is just a patriotic thing to do. This is a great thing. Thank you for your service, sir. Like to this day, when people thank me for my service, I cringe. Like because
Well,
I was so
thank,
misguided.
yeah, they're thanking you for the fact that you risked your life. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the part that I don't think they're thanking you for putting bullets into a small child's head.
well, because they don't think that far, right? Like I think we've all been indoctrinated in this bullshit government school
No, no,
system.
no, I get it. It's part of the sales slogan. I guess it's part of the mantra. But let's not confuse thank you for your service with what it really is. It's thanking you for taking a risk and risking your life. It's not thanking you for killing small children.
I think it's even more abstract than that. I think it's thanking you for adhering to a narrative that was brainwashed into you as a kid in government school, because you get force fed this narrative that the military service is a wonderful thing, and the United States is just here to defend freedom and defend liberty, and we're just protecting our country, right? When any objective observer will look around and say, like, we haven't had a war to defend the United States ever. We're basically sitting here attacking other countries for profit, essentially, to keep pumping money into DoD
There was
contractors,
that whole,
Raytheon,
yeah, there was that whole attack on Pearl Harbor. Pretty sure
which
we were
which by
defending.
the way was invited. I don't know if you know this, but they knew it was coming. Roosevelt invited. He had an open seas policy. He provoked Japan intentionally because America didn't want to join World War II. I have a relative that died in Pearl Harbor, by the way, and so I've investigated this quite thoroughly. They found out that they were able to intercept Japanese communications long before Pearl Harbor attack happened, and they knew it was coming, and they let it happen. So they let a bunch of Americans die over in Pearl Harbor on purpose, just so we could get drug into World War II. I don't know if you know, but FDR and Winston Churchill were first cousins. And FDR is like, I can't help you. The Americans don't want to go into World War II.
Well, I don't doubt that that's got some truth to it, but at the end of the day, the act that pulled us into that war was the attack on Pearl Harbor. We were defending our country at that point.
Well, we were aggressing against Japan though too. They set up a blockade, so the United States Navy was blockading goods from being imported in Japan at the time, which is an act of war. So it's not. I hate these people that just have this one-sided view of
Second,
things.
hold on, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. We didn't have enough of a big enough a navy to blockade anything going into Japan. Japan was getting a lot of its goods from China even back then. So China, Afghanistan, they were getting we couldn't blockade jack shit from them.
No, I'm pretty sure that we had a naval blockade set up, stopping goods from being imported to Japan.
Like what goods? Oil?
I don't know. I'd have to go look at it again. It's been a long time since I
The only thing I
investigated
can
this.
think of is it would be oil, and I don't think that's true because if we did have a blockade, most of our navy was in Pearl Harbor. We didn't have a big enough navy back then. It wasn't that huge. Like if you're going to blockade Japan, you need a huge navy to do that.
Yeah, it says the U.S. Navy's blockade of Japan in World War II is a strategic effort to isolate and weaken the Japanese war machine by cutting off vital supplies and resources.
And when was that?
I'm trying to look at that
After
right now.
Pearl Harbor or before?
I'm positive it was before Pearl Harbor.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, my apologies for not being on top of my
And by
facts
the way,
here.
if it was before Pearl Harbor, it doesn't make any sense to me because we didn't have that big of a navy, and most of our ships were in Pearl Harbor. We had a big part of our Navy fleet in Pearl Harbor just sitting there waiting to be used.
True, but because of FDR's open seas policy, because so we used to patrol the Pacific around Hawaii, right? And FDR had pulled resources back to Pearl Harbor, but I thought a portion of that navy was used as a blockade in Japan to try to stop goods from entering
Could be
Japan.
right, but it doesn't make sense to me because to do that kind of work, we would have had most of our ships closer to Japan, not closer to Pearl Harbor. They'd
Yeah,
have been,
well,
they'd have been out in the Pacific.
caveat emptor for the listener. I'm a dumb dumb on the internet. This is just my recollection of history. Who the hell knows? Good do your own research.
Listen, like I always say, you can be 50% right and I could be 50% wrong. But like I said, it just doesn't make sense because if we were blockading them, our ships wouldn't be in one little huddled mass, which, by the way, made no sense anyhow. I never understood that concept. Like I get that they were like all, sitting there waiting for orders, but that just seemed like a bad idea from the get-go.
Yeah, well, I got diverted from my initial point, which is like the United States doesn't fight defensive wars anymore. Like, even if you consider that a defensive war, like
I
we are
agree with that statement.
literally world police. We're bases all across the world. We are a revenue generating machine. And it's really our military expenditures, blowing up bombs and shooting people and equipment and all this stuff. It's really meant to enrich the corporate interests in America that supply this stuff.
We literally run like a mafia organization. We have capos, we have lieutenants. Yeah, we literally run like a mafia. You want us to protect you, Germany, you got to give us this.
Yep. So I don't have a whole lot of respect for military, and I don't think that people that are in the military, veterans, deserve a whole lot of respect. It's myself included. I don't think what I did was honorable, and I regret every second that I spent in service to the United States government. Full stop.
I can see your point of view, but I think the respect that they get is the risk that they took. And anybody that risks their life, I'll buy them a cup of coffee. I'll give them the respect they have. And by the way, most military people are good people, hardworking, great leaders, unbelievable inside of a company. If I had to hire somebody and I had a military person and a non-military person, that person 100% of the time has always been a great person to add to the team. They're resourceful, they're leaders, they get up, they hustle, they work hard. They're literally better human beings.
Yeah, yeah, and so don't take me wrong. This is a moral judgment. This is not a judgment in their performance in the workplace or their aptitudes, their capabilities, or anything like that. And I one of the reasons I speak out the way I do is because I don't like to see people getting sucked in by the narrative. And I think the fact that this thank you for your service nonsense sort of perpetuates that cycle. That this is an honorable profession. That society views you in an honorable way when you really are just a hired mercenary that's going to go murder women and children if need be, if the government tells you to do like that. I don't like to see people get saddled with that, get suckered into the system thinking they're doing something good, because I do believe most people go in thinking they're doing the right thing. I'm being patriotic, I'm supporting my country, I'm whatever it is, right? Whatever narrative that they were sold. But when at the end of the day they end up on the streets,
That part,
homeless, drug
that part
addicted,
blows, yeah, that part
psychological
blows my
problems.
mind. The VA is the most corrupt organization I've seen in a long time. Maybe not the most, but they're hardcore corrupt. And what they're doing in not doing their job, and the number of people that work in the VA versus the number of veterans that are out there, those numbers are so fucking out of whack. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's not legitimate. We don't really care about these people as a country. We care about corporate interests and corporate profits. When it comes down to these people, like myself, are throwaway people. We are cannon fodder. We're disposable, and they can just end up in the streets, addicted to drugs and have mental health issues, suicide epidemic, and nobody cares.
I couldn't agree with you more. Brent, I got 4 minutes before I have to jump on another podcast. Do me one favor. I like
Sure.
to end every podcast with something inspirational. Tell people that are watching you right now something inspirational, something that'll get them to pursue a better life for themselves.
Yes, we talked a lot about politics today. Fuck all of that stuff. So you have the ability to make yourself a better human being, and that's the way we change society. It's not by pointing to the screwed up people that are in the presidency or in the Congress or whoever it is, right? You have the ability to change the world by changing yourself. Like everyone wants to point the finger at somebody else and say you're fucked up. You're the reason that everything's all screwed up. Well, guess what? Politics is downstream from culture, and you have the ability to make yourself a better human being today. And the only measure is you yesterday versus today. If you keep making steps forward, eventually you're going to be a really, really solid human. And the more people that do that will sort of, snowball into having a really, really great country. Like that's the way to fix it. That's the prescription. Stop focusing, spending your time obsessing about all these things you can't control when the thing that you can control is right in front of you. It's you, it's your family, it's your community, it's your job, it's all the things that you have direct influence over. So focus your time there. Cool. We can sit and talk shit about this stuff all day long. That's fine recreationally. But ultimately, what really matters is you and your sphere of influence. So don't forget that.
Brent, we got to chop it up again soon sometime, okay?
Yes, sir, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, buddy. Hold on one second.